Okay. Wait, we're starting with our names, or are we starting with?
We're just starting our names first.
Okay. Hi, I'm Alexis.
Hi, I'm Christine.
I'm Jeb.
I'm Valentino.
And today we are going to be presenting our demonstration of knowledge for modules 4 through 10. Okay, so our team collected data by creating a Google form and sending it to our target audience. In our survey, we observed the food insecurity of our population, which was college students at Sacramento City College. And our sample, or our population, was college students, and our sample was college students taking this statistics course. We don't believe this to be an accurate representation of the student population at SCC because we only had 22 responses, which isn't enough data for the entire population. Furthermore, our study was voluntary, so students had the choice to take or not to take our survey. Personal choice to take our survey reflects bias because data was not a random sample. We couldn't do a random sample for it because it would be too difficult and we wouldn't get enough responses. And we also sent our survey through Slack and the discussion board to college students in this class. In modules 4 through 6, we discuss quantitative and categorical variables. And the definition of a quantitative variable is numeric variables that represent a measurable quantity. Our questions include how many meals do you eat in a day, and within a 5-mile radius, how many grocery stores do you have access to? A categorical variable are variables that have a limited number of possible values. And our questions for that was, do you qualify for SNAP and CalFresh benefits? And have you ever skipped a meal because you couldn't find food? As for our study of food insecurity, it was an observational study. Unlike an experimental study, we did not manipulate one variable to cause an effect on another variable. We could only collect data based on what we observed from our sample.
Okay, so the quantitative variable we chose for this section is the cost of mixed nuts from the Sacramento County Essential Bundle data. So we decided that the best graph to display this data would be a histogram because it shows us the shape, center, and spread better. We also thought that a dot plot would be more useful in showing a correlation between two variables. And here we are just trying to see how much people are paying for mixed nuts. So the shape of the data is slightly skewed to the right, which tells us that fewer people are paying more than $10 for mixed nuts. The center of the data is $8 to $10, which tells us that most people are paying $8 to $10 for mixed nuts. And the cost of mixed nuts range from $2 to $20. So for this section, we chose the cost of oatmeal in Sacramento County as our quantitative variable. So we calculated the mean, median, standard deviation, and the 5-number summary. So the mean was 4.6, the median was 3.99, the standard deviation was 3.4, and then on the right you can see a picture from GeoGebra representing the 5-number summary. So we decided that the median and IQR would be the best measurements for center and spread because the data is skewed to the right, and there are also outliers that would offset the mean and standard deviation. And also you can already tell, considering the mean is 3.99 and the mean is 4.6, that 3.99 is closer to the center of the data.
Right, we're going to compare a couple of graphs. Right here we have a stacked box plots. We're going to be comparing the price of a jar of peanut butter and the price of a dozen eggs in Sacramento. To do this, we are going to use stacked box plots. When we take a look at the box plots, it becomes apparent that while the two items are similarly priced, the eggs tend to be cheaper, with their median cost being 30 cents cheaper than the median cost of peanut butter. Now let's take a look to see if there are any outliers in these two sets of data. The first step to finding out if there are outliers is to calculate the IQR. We find the IQR by subtracting Q1 from Q3. After we have our IQR, we should look to calculate our right and left fences. The formula for finding the right fence is Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR, and the formula for the left fence is Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. Our fences will serve as boundaries for the data sets, and anything outside of the fences is considered an outlier. The max price for a carton of eggs was $4.28, and the minimum price was $2.98, giving us an IQR of 130. The max price for a jar of peanut butter was $5.92, and the min price was $2.99, giving us an IQR of 293. Now that we have the IQR, we plug it into our formula and find that the eggs right fence is $6.23 and the left fence is $1.03. For the peanut butter, the right fence is $10.32 and the left fence is negative $1.41. Given the min and max for both data sets fit within their respective fences, there are no outliers.
So for, sorry about that. So for our conclusion, for like what we actually analyze from the data as a team, that we're just seeing like how students, how they eat and the actual necessities that they actually brought from the data, and also the scarcity of students getting enough food, which actually brought us to the point of that was surprises us about the amount of eggs and peanut butter that have been sold at the same price, but different like outliers at the same time, which actually brought us to, from the data to be related to it and to actually not. And then for like, if regarding for like, if we were actually able to do the survey again, we would like ask like these students that have, some of the questions would be regarding to how many children do they have, or how often they go grocery shopping, and what average of groceries did they spend, and do they what type of like cards do they use? Do they use like EBT? Do they use credit, debit, or all the above? And which actually brought concerning of collecting the data would just be the essential bundle. It's already enough for people to actually just buy, and it also will be essential to us as a group that it's actually already beneficial that this is actually already brought in the amount of food that actually can actually support someone's to someone or like their whole family. And for daily lives, for the communities, I wouldn't think this analysis will be properly will be considered to be the community. But if we actually did this survey at just at least 2 more weeks, we could have got a little bit more of the data, a little bit more. But if it would have benefit more, it would be more with the towards like the egg farms, as we actually analyze like towards the how much is like the eggs have been cheaper, or like how they produce, how like Skipper or like Nutella when they sell like peanut butter in jars. Usually we can actually compare for that type of community. And also we demonstrate gracious professionalism, which we added like new like questions to the survey, or like take one out, which is actually to actually relate to the students, and also learning our peers how much they eat over the course of their lives, or like how often, and also helping each other to actually understand the data a little bit more and support each other at a certain subjects and towards the analysis.
All right, moving forward, if we had the entire project to do over again, the biggest change we would make is to start surveying people earlier so we could have a larger sample. A research question we were interested in based on this data is what proportion of college students face food insecurity in Sacramento? If we were going to try and answer this question, we would use many of the same survey questions that we use in our current survey, especially the ones that regard availability of food and personal experience with food scarcity. All right, continuing to move forward. Our survey focused on food security of college students. Given this, an experiment we could run based on our findings would be the effects of food scarcity on a student's grades. For this experiment, we would take a sample of 200 SCC students and give them a basic quiz, including questions from various classes that most students will take. We'll record the data to establish a baseline score. The next step would be to randomly assign each student to one of two groups. Group 1 will be fed 3 times a day, while Group 2 will be given half the food that they usually eat for 3 days. On the third day, both groups will be tested again. The results of these tests will be compared to the baseline and will show if there is a relationship between food insecurity and grades. We controlled for confounding variables by assigning the 200 students into the two groups randomly. For this experiment, our control group is the results of the quiz given before the experiment, as the students will all have been eating their normal diet before we influenced it. Our treatment group is the two groups of 100 students whose diet we changed for the 3 days, and there would be no blinding in this study.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Stop recording.
So what do you guys think?